Hey everybody, I am so glad to see you today. Uh, Hang on. Nope, not what I wanted, but okay, there we go. I'm so glad you're here today. And if you don't know who I am, I'm Rita Hickman, body mind expert, shiatsu massage therapist, and I specialize in helping all of us survive this completely insane world that we're living in anymore. So, what makes me good at what I do? Well, part of it is the fact that I live my truth. I tend to keep living life. I haven't just, had my life experiences and then sat back on my laurels. Instead, I put myself into challenging experiences. Some of my friends call me a little masochistic. They call me a little crazy. They think I enjoy being in positions which are difficult and challenging. But sure, there is a part of me that does enjoy that. There's a part of me that wants to see how tough I am, what I can do, what I can achieve. That's so totally doable for me. And I tend to, because of how I was raised, because of my background, I have a little bit more craving for a little bit more adrenaline and a little bit more risk taking. So in my life, I've tended to take more risks. I've tended to push more. I'm an entrepreneur. I develop friendships with people who have challenging issues, whether they be bipolar or mood disorders or trauma in their past and all sorts of stuff. And this is what I love. I love constantly feeling alive. Now, as I'm getting older, and I do talk to a lot of friends of mine who are older than me, they're like, you get to the point where things start to settle down and you're a little tired of some of the craziness. And hey, Nikki, good to see you. And Hannah Lisa's here too. How nice and wonderful. Very, very cool. So, this is what gives me a lot of authority to do what I do, which is I'm constantly walking my talk and living my truth. I'm not, sitting on a mountain in a cave. Instead, what I'm doing is I'm out there, I'm living it. I'm trying to figure out what everybody else is going through and saying, yes, I know exactly what that is. Hey, Patty, good to see you. I know exactly what it's like to be trapped in these situations. I know exactly what it's like to be struggling and in a difficult time. Hey, Carol, I know this because I deal with it every day. And it's not because I've settled back into my life, it's because I like challenges. And so I'm always challenging myself on a personal and an emotional level to see what my edges are and see what more I need to learn and how more I need to grow. That gives me tremendous insight and understanding and wisdom about things like surrender, about things like detachment and how to cope. So, you'll read in a lot of spiritual practices about surrendering. And one of the things I always had a problem with 12-step programs were, the idea of step one was about how you needed to recognize that you have no control. And when you're a woman coming from a traumatic past, uh, asking me to give up control again, after I was forced to give up control and I was helpless and powerless for so long, asking that again is a completely ridiculous idea. It's something that goes against my very nature to allow someone else, whether it be God or anybody else, to have this power. But here's some of the insight and the wisdom I've gotten from that, not from 12-step programs, but from the idea of surrender. What tends to happen is when we live in life and we're engaging with life, it's very, very easy. There's a super fine line between rational and in our higher self, our whole self, a place where we can see all the different angles and make good decisions, and a place where we are reacting and we're in our limbic system. It's a very fine line, and it happens before you know it. It'll happen because someone will blink funny, or today it's a cloudy day, or we're anticipating something that might go wrong. These things happen. We go into that crazy land, even if it's just a little bit, really fast and really easy and out of that rational, grounded mind. So I used to look at surrender as in helplessness and giving up. And the last thing I ever wanted was to surrender, never give up. You know, that's what I was like, and that pushed me to have bigger and bigger challenges in my life, with my business, with my friendships, with my marriage, with my relationships, with my family. I ended up being a big risk taker. And what I've learned is that surrender it's a temporary experience that you give yourself so that you can get back into the wisest, smartest, most grounded, most balanced version of you that you can find. Now, sometimes I know for me, when I was younger, I lived for decades in that state of reactionary. Hey, Daniel, I lived for, years and years in this state of stress and duress. And I didn't even know what it felt like to be back into that grounded space. So surrendering is less about giving up and allowing life to do whatever it's going to do. Hey, Sherry. And instead, it's about giving yourself a temporary break so you can get back into your wise self. So, what are some of my tips and tricks for this? One of them is when I am in a place of reacting, when I'm in a place of limbic system and stress, the first thing I do is I honor the feeling, almost like a parent would with a child. You sit there, you give yourself time to feel it and be with it. Now, the challenge with this, though, is we have this feeling that if we dive deep into anger or sadness or whatever, if we're not avoiding it, which we tend to do, if we're not avoiding it, if we're living it, our tendency is to get trapped because we think just one more, I'll stay angry just a little bit longer, just a little bit more. We almost liken it to a crescendo in, an orchestra or the climax of a play. Hey, Christine, we think there to ourselves, if I sit with this emotion just a little bit longer, it will magically resolve itself. We see it as this thing, as this wave that's going to happen. I'd like to introduce a different paradigm for you, okay? What if all of these different states of mind and stages of who we are equal? There's no, we're coming to a higher wisdom, we're coming to a bigger goal. What if there's no judgmentalism between them? What if they're just different notes in a song? What if they're just different chapters in a book? What if there's no one better than another? So there isn't, if I just stick with this, it's going to take me to a higher place. That sort of thinking, like we're going to reach heaven. Hey, Carolyn. So the Wi-Fi struggles from the weather a little bit. So, what if there is no ultimate resolution? Hey, Raquel, what if there is no place to go, nothing to achieve? They're all sort of equal, okay? Now it comes down to you choosing what experience do you want to have. Do you want to be in this angry experience? Do you want to be in this sad experience? It's no longer, I'm doing this for a good reason. I'm angry because it's going to take me to a higher place. Or I'm sad because it's going to take me, to a deeper place within myself. What if surrender is recognizing that, you know what, I'm going to let go of this feeling because staying with it isn't serving me in any way. It's not denying it. It's not pushing it away. It's not arguing with it. It's not, telling it that it's wrong or bad. Because remember, you do that honoring piece. You take a few moments and you honor how you feel. What if, you honor how you feel and then you decide, now I need to change the channel because this brainwave pattern isn't the experience I want to have right now. There is no higher reason. There is no crescendo or climax to the book. We were raised, at least I was raised, on media. I learned a lot about relationships and how people worked and the world through the media, through things like sitcoms or books. The thing that we forget is these sitcoms or books are written for entertainment because the subconscious loves a good story. It loves that feeling of resolution. The problem is life isn't like that. Life doesn't resolve itself in 30 minutes. And I was raised on entertainment thinking that that's how my life experience should be. That there should be the crescendo and then everything works out fine. Everything does work out fine, but only when we get to that place of surrender. So surrender is, for me, accepting this is the experience that I'm having, and I think I don't want to have this experience anymore. So what do I need to do to shift gears? Because if you stay in the anger and you stay in the sadness, on a body-mind perspective, you're telling yourself that this is the experience I want to have, and it's going to strengthen it, and it's going to send it power. And, our body minds are very objective. They're not subjective. They're not like, I'm going to do this for my greater good. Have you ever wondered how people can get sick? Why doesn't the body just heal itself all the time? Hey, Deb, why doesn't, the mind come in and do what's best for our system? That would be fabulous if that's how it worked. But in reality, we have got free will. We've got conscious choice because all of these experiences are going to be the same, just different versions of them. All of these, the anger and the sadness and the joy and the frustration and all of it, if that's what we feed, that's the experience we're going to have. And so when we realize that there is no higher place, there is no I'm suffering for some greater good that I don't understand. When we realize that there's no need to suffer, suffering doesn't get us anywhere. There's no need to stay angry. That's okay. There's no need to stay angry. There's no need to stay sad because the body-mind doesn't know the difference. It says, oh, this is what you want, then this is the experience I'll give you. And we'll feed it and we'll strengthen it and we'll hardwire it into your brain. It's very objective. So if you want to surrender, honor how you feel. Recognize that surrendering doesn't mean surrendering for the rest of your existence. Realize surrendering is a tool that you can use to get back into a more balanced state of mind so you can make good decisions based on how you feel and how you think, not just on your reactions. And realizing that all of those experiences, there is no purpose. There is no reason. It is. The purpose and the reason is what we give it. So when we say, I'm going to surrender so I can be in a better place, so I can do the things which actually help me and help the world around, it means that we don't stay in the emotions we don't like. It means we don't have to stay in the anger because the anger is not, it's going to be a good experience. It'll bring new, interesting things, but it's not the experience I want to live in. Same thing with sadness. That's not the experience I want to live in. And living in the sadness or living in the emptiness isn't going to get you anywhere. It's not going to magically, turn us into some magic creature. Even, there's a Thich Nhat Hanh, a Buddhist monk who I love, fell into a deep depression a few decades ago. And the way he resolved it is he went into mindfulness for a few years in order to resolve it. Because the depression, the suffering, wasn't getting him anywhere. And it wasn't in fact, it was more oppressive than it was solving things or getting him into a good space. Getting into that mindfulness, into that surrender, is what allowed him to become the great leader that he is. So these are things to think about. We have been brainwashed a little bit from the media that we watch that there's going to be a climax, a small thing. If you make it a big thing, you're going to fail. It'll be an epic fail. You'll be angry. You'll be miserable. And you'll say, see, I told her it wouldn't work. But if you start with something small, what it does is it strengthens that mindset. It tells your body, mind, this is the direction we want to go. We want to go in the direction of joy. We want to go in the direction of enjoying our life. We don't want to go in the direction of being angry about everything and divided and hurt. That's not what we want to feed. What we want to feed, what we want to strengthen is this experience of happiness and peace. And what do I need to do to support that? So it's the surrendering to the fact that this is what is. This is what exists. Now, what do I want to do about it? Okay? So one thing, medium or small, and practice it. Try it. And every time you do that, every time you shift your perspective to, I don't need to be angry because I can look at this through a different lens, it means that it becomes easier and easier every single time until you've rewired your whole system to just think that way, to just live life in that way. It doesn't happen because everything in your life goes perfectly. It happens because day after day you make the choice to surrender, to recognize that you don't want the experience of anger or hurt or sadness, and that you do want the experience of enjoying your life. Okay? So, share this, like this, love this. It keeps me motivated. It keeps me showing up every day and doing this and being present. And I'm so glad you're part of this tribe. Comment on other people's stuff because we need each other. If you've looked around, there's a lot of anger, a lot of polarity. A lot of people are going nutty and off the rails. And so now is the time more than ever that we really need to come together. We really need to be that support for each other. Okay? We need to be present for each other. Because right now, it's crazy out there, all right? And so if you're one of the people who are compassionate and kind and on this path, make sure that you engage and make sure that you share. Because somebody needs to hear what you have to say, and you need to hear what somebody else has to say. Because we've been way too isolated for way too long, and it's time to stop, okay? So comment, share, keeps me motivated, and I would love to see you tomorrow. Okay? Bye.